It is 7:02. We're calling the meeting to order. My name is Michelle Jones. I am co-president of PTO Council with Randy Nathanson. Welcome and thank you for coming to our very first meeting. So what I would like to say is that although I have participated in a lot of Zoom meetings, this feels so new to me right now. But we'll get through it. I think we've introduced ourselves in the past, so I have a ninth grader. I just have one child, and his name is Matthew. And Matthew seems to be enjoying high school right now, which is a big plus. Yay! Because he was so nervous about starting. But that's just a little bit about me. So, Randy?
Yeah, I'm Randy. As Michelle said, I have two ninth graders, Jesse and Zachary, and I have a third grader at Boulevard, although my older two went to Lomond. So I identify as both a Lomond and a Boulevard mom. And yeah, my kids are just happy to be in school in person, which I think a lot of the kids do. So what I think we'll do is when you introduce your school and talk about your school, introduce yourself and who your kids are. If that works, it'll save us some time, because I know there's also a school board meeting going on, and these nights go late. So our first
the only thing we had was an announcement in that we're recording this meeting.
Right. So the first thing we need to do is we thankfully and wonderfully have a new treasurer. Victoria Martin has agreed to be our treasurer, which is phenomenal. So what we have to do is officially vote her in, and then she and Susan will share the budget, and we will look at that and vote on that. So Victoria, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Victoria Martin. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And I have 3 children in the district, 2 at Lomond and 1 a senior in the high school. And I am looking forward to the role as treasurer and have been in Susan. So this is going to be great.
Great.
Thank you.
So we just need to vote, and the best way probably to do it is just, so when you look at participants, there should be you look at reactions.
Right.
It's been a while. So just if you're voting yes, just do the thumbs up and we can vote her in.
Oh, I have to do it too. Okay.
All right. Well, that's official. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Victoria. You are our new treasurer.
Yay. That was a hard position to fill. So we were really glad to get that, because that's such an
So I don't know if that's my computer or is it
you were cutting out. You were cutting out a bit.
Victoria or me?
Victoria.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Victoria, if you can hear, it sounds like we had some.
I am.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a lag. So we can't hear you right now. So if there is anything that you want to say, I'm going to put my cell phone in the chat just in case we can do it that way. Or you can write in the chat as well. So I'm going to put my phone number in the chat for you.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else needs my number, but
So what we need to do now is look at the budget. Susan, Victoria, were one of you going to share your screen to see the budget?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Great.
And I'll do that as a question. This one. All right, how's that? Spreadsheet showing up?
Yes.
Okay. Victoria, do you want to walk through it or do you want me to? I know since you were having audio issues.
Trying to reset my internet. Give me 10 seconds here.
Okay, it's much clearer now.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get us started as she's getting herself together. We pretty much kind of looked through the last couple of years since last year was so wonky and didn't really make many changes. There aren't too many programs that are actually happening through council. So the funding needs just aren't there. So we're anticipating a bit of fundraising just because the links get set up, and if people want to donate to council, they're definitely welcome to. The big number that you see, these 230,000 are actually probably small, and I don't think they're in the right place, but essentially with the way our whole council fundraising is happening now through membership toolkit. I hope everyone's familiar with that, but we can talk through that a little bit also. Basically it comes to membership toolkit and then it comes to the PayPal account, which is owned by council, and then it has to get sent to the units. I'm still trying to figure out if we can deposit into each unit bank account and avoid this in and out of the council's bank account. But it's basically just a pass-through zero line that will have no impact on council bank account. And I just need to learn what the accounting is since I'm not an accountant. And the other stuff is the expenses are pretty basic. We have our subscriptions, which are membership toolkit, Sign Up Genius, that all the units have access to. And then the corresponding reimbursement that covers the annual expenses and then also the tax return and the insurance. We kind of figure out what our expenses are for the year and then pass that down, split it 10 ways between the 8 units, band boosters, and council, and then we split it since everyone uses all those items. And we put in this year $500 just for each area. Oh, I suppose outreach should probably have that too. So that if there are events that come up throughout the year, that each of the council areas has some money that's available for them to spend. And then the operations are just kind of the basic stuff that we have to spend money on, tax returns and insurance, and then there's a president discretionary fund. And that's the whole thing. So we have a negative 5,000 right now, but based on the fact that we have almost 0 events scheduled, I don't expect that we might even spend 5,000. But that's things will change as the year goes on, and Randy and Michelle will ultimately decide what's going to be happening.
Victoria put in the chat that she's good to go.
Okay. Victoria, do you have anything to add? Any questions?
No, I don't think I have anything to add. I didn't hear whether or not you gave the update on the balance in the bank. I think we're at 15,000. A little over 15,000 is what we currently have in our bank account.
Yeah, actually, who's the secretary this year?
Erica.
Erica. Okay, so
Oh, I am sorry.
no, that's fine. I just want to make sure this is like in the audit process, they want like notes about the treasurer's report to be in the notes every time.
Right, and that's actually why I didn't respond right away, because I was
Nope,
trying to get all of this down.
Does anyone need this to stay up? Does anyone, especially those who are kind of new, have questions specifically about this, about membership toolkit?
So I'm new, Saget Phillips Middle School PTO. I'm curious, so things like the senior clap out, how is it decided that PTO council does that versus say the PTO at the high school? Like that's one thing I've never understood is how different expenses are broken down.
We don't really understand that either.
Okay.
We were talking about that the other day, whether or not that should be a high school thing or a council thing.
I mean, I have no problem with it. I was curious. And then what do you think the amount for outreach should be, and what outreach are we talking about on that line?
We gave all of the different, all the first VPs got 500, so that would be the same as the other ones.
There, how's that? It's magical.
And I think we also discussed maybe reaching out to the clap out coordinator at the high school PTO. And we mentioned it briefly when we spoke, I think, to just see if there's some alignment in cost and whether or not, that line item still needed to be in existence or not, but that hasn't happened yet.
This is Cherie Thornton. I'm actually the PT or the slap out senior clap out coordinator for the high school as well.
Oh.
I haven't planned it yet. I haven't gotten the notes from what we did in previous years, but I can kind of help coordinate that since, I'm on both.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Once I find out more information, I'll share. I haven't found anything out yet.
But I have a question regarding that too, because it's also the elementary schools that are involved with this. So maybe that's also why they do it through the
Yeah.
council.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking too. Maybe the buses or something that takes the kids, but I'll find out more.
Yeah, it does make sense since all the elementary schools and Woodbury is also involved because there are kids who come in at Woodbury level. For some reason, we don't do middle school, but it does make sense from that standpoint that it would be a council thing since it's not everybody participates.
And has the same experience, wouldn't you think?
Right.
Right.
You guys know we can see your Facebook page, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. I forgot I was sharing. I could turn that off. All right, how about membership toolkit? Rainbow Run is using it right now for signups. A bunch of units have used it starting last spring. It seems to be going pretty smoothly except for this whole funding transfer issue.
I have a question
Why
about
don't I have
membership toolkit. So my name is Emily Adams. I'm co-president at Mercer Elementary School. And my understanding was the membership toolkit isn't that the parent directory for parents to sign up?
Yes.
Okay. Is it
But they
used
have, go ahead.
I was going to say, is it used for other purposes too?
Yeah, so we didn't actually totally know this when we started using it, but they have different, I don't know, functional areas. And one of those is basically a sales page. And so we've been using that for fundraising. Mercer used it for their readathon last year. And I don't know, a few units have been using it and I don't even know stuff is set up. And then some units don't have anyone who's used it before and they have a lot of questions. So I end up helping them a lot, but it's either way is totally fine. Fernway has used it quite a bit. But sometimes I'll open membership toolkit and there'll just be a new sales form created and I didn't know what was happening, and that's great. So yeah, at the end of the
Susan,
day,
this is Brooke. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm driving. So I hate to jump in. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the middle school Rainbow Run. You have been a huge help to getting that all set up and making sure that our main volunteer understands everything. And so I just want to like publicly say thank you for being just the absolute best.
oh, you know, everyone's got to figure it out, and it's pretty good.
Hey, Susan,
Yeah.
quick question about that. And because it's a pass-through, obviously everything is going into the one account and then you guys are directing it. If two organizations are doing a fundraiser at the same time, will that be an issue?
It's not. So I've basically pulled down the individual line item sales from PayPal, and those are all coded.
Got
And
it.
then just settle up every month.
All right.
Or at the end of a and like if someone wants to settle up mid-month, we can pull them down. But I've got a spreadsheet that has like each month for the fiscal year and all the funds that were raised and which units the balances go to. And then every month I'll share that with whichever units have done fundraising that month.
I have a question. So should all fundraisers go through the membership toolkit?
So we do not have access to pay for it anymore.
Okay.
That was like, these two things happen kind of independently. Last summer, council decided to start using membership toolkit for the directory because of cost and pay for it. The schools changed from pay for it to pay schools. And so it didn't have the same functionality as pay for it did. And then we found out the membership toolkit does have this functionality that didn't cost any extra. So if you had a fundraiser that in the past had used pay for it, this is kind of the best option. And the other option, which Fan Boosters is using, is for something really simple, we can create a link and a QR code just to essentially create a donation link that goes straight to PayPal.
Okay.
But the issue with PayPal is because we all sit under the same tax ID number, we can only have one account. And that's what creates this whole accounting thing.
That's the 30,000 in and 30,000 out, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Is that we just need to do a little bit of thinking about the best way to make those transfers, and maybe we can kind of one at a time put bank information in PayPal and then take it out or something. But kind of thinking through that. Go ahead, Jen, you had a question?
Yeah, is there, I feel like I don't know, I'm like listening to another language because I'm not familiar with membership toolkit at all. So is there a place where those of us who are newer and unfamiliar or what we should be using it? I think, you know, whoever just asked the question, if we should all be using it, that
So here, I
might be
can
helpful.
open the right tab here. So this is kind of what it looks like. Just so if we have time for this, Randy and Michelle.
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at Rainbow Run. So Rainbow Run created their sales form. I want to see everyone's donations here. They created their sales form, and you have this whole like setup page, and then you get a new web page that just looks like I'm selling something. And the thing you're selling could be an event registration. It could be a donation to a class for a readathon or Olympics or whatever. But we found that the sales form, rather than the fundraising application within Membership Toolkit. So Membership Toolkit is essentially our new directory, and it hosts our website. And now we sell lots of stuff through it.
So any of us can use that
Yep.
Maybe,
Okay. Oh,
maybe what we could do is set up like a
little
membership
tutorial?
toolkit
Yeah.
training. Like maybe we can set up a meeting
Yeah.
where PTO people can, anyone on the PTOs can come and learn how to use it.
Yeah, and we could, yeah, Irv has been super helpful. I have not, I've just exchanged a few emails with him, but I'm glad to have Irv on our team. Because he's good, he knows what's going on. So he is the one who has access, probably the highest access to membership toolkit to provide others access when they need it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great idea that we set up a training
Yeah.
for it. I think Randy and I were introduced to it. It was kind of baptism by fire kind of thing. So we will go ahead and send out maybe a what do you call it? A doodle form to see what's the best date.
Yeah, and that could be, I mean, it could be sent to the units and then for them to invite people who they think might host an event, right? So you can see, this is kind of maybe everything we've ever done. I put some in the archive recently, but we had a bunch in the spring and then a few things over the summer, and then Rainbow Run and On-Way Olympics are new so far this year, and maybe something else up here. So it's mostly user friendly. It's just a matter of that first, like, how does this work? And like, what are the important pieces?
But we'll set up a meeting, and in the meantime, Susan, Victoria, if you can put your information on how best to reach you in the chat, reach out to either or both of them for questions and help if you're trying to set something up through there.
Yeah.
But we will set up a training, which I need to take as well. So for sure.
Mitty, you have a question?
I do. I'm a little worried I'm going to sound really uninformed by asking this. It doesn't have to do with membership toolkit, but hi everybody. I'm co-VP of Parent Education Advocacy with Marla Walker. And my question is, I see that under us is MLK Day. And I have to be honest that I don't even know how that runs through us. Like, I know that that's usually a community builder's role. I don't know if we have chairs. I hope we do. So, and then that budget, again, maybe sort of along the same lines as clap out. I'm just trying to understand like how Marla and I are responsible for that. And maybe it's an offline question, but since it's our first meeting, I just thought I'd bring that up. It looks like one of the bigger ones on here.
No, it's a great question. We do have chairs. Brooke, are you able to speak to that now, or? I know she's driving.
Hello?
Hi, Brooke.
Hi. Yeah, hi. I am co-chairing it for the second time this year with Paulinita Barker. We chaired it last year.
Fabulous.
So we are really excited to bring it back. What I'll say very quickly, because I am driving and I know I don't want to take up too much time, but last year we used about $900 of the $1,000 that were allocated from PTO Council. It was a virtual event. So we actually spent that money on a DJ or I can't remember right now exactly. But so this year it'll probably be virtual as well. Last year there was the learning component with the booklet that was mailed that was actually paid for by the Shaker Schools Foundation. And then we did the very large donations drive. We ended up getting about $15,000 worth of donations to a variety of nonprofit organizations. So I'm not quite sure exactly what it'll look like this year, but I do know that we have started talking with the administration and with score leaders and other volunteers who have previously chaired the event. So we will be in touch very soon.
Thanks, Brooke.
Okay. So do we feel ready to vote on the budget? Are there any other questions or concerns about it? So if you are in favor of approving the budget, just do the thumbs up.
All right, I think technically you're supposed to ask for a motion and a second.
Oh, okay. Do we have a motion to
I know.
vote to approve the budget?
Minnie raised her hand. Are you motioning to approve it?
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Now we can vote. Thank you for reminding me of
The protocol.
things. Been a while.
I can't raise hand.
Okay, either raise your hand or raise your thumb. Okay. It looks like the budget's been approved. Thank you all. All right.
Okay. So the next thing we have is we wanted to hear from all of the schools that are represented and just kind of get any updates that you would like to share with us. And what I will do is they're in no particular order. I'm doing elementary first, not alphabetical or anything. I'm just however I wrote them down. So I'll start with Lomond. So we have a representative here from Lomond who would just like to share what's happening at your school.
So I'm Jen DePrizio, and I think my co-president, Melissa Callan, is also here. There she is, waving with the green wall. So we just had our Blacktop Bash on Friday, and it was great. We had so many people attending. It was beautiful weather. Everyone just seemed to be super happy to be together. We're kicking off our room rep activities tomorrow night with a meeting, and then we're digging in and starting to plan our pumpkin affair, our fall festival for mid-October. And so we do have a lot of questions, which Randy and Michelle know about kind of event guidelines and how to make sense of what we should and shouldn't do. And so I have one daughter, Josie, who's in 2nd grade. Melissa, do you want to add anything?
Oh, I think you covered it all. My name's Melissa Callan. I have a Woodbury son, a 6th grader, and I have a 2nd grader at Lomond. And I am helping Jen out this year as co-president, as she said, at Lomond.
Hey, great, thank you. Fernway, do we have a representative from Fernway? No, going once, going twice. Okay. Boulevard.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hermina Modgill, president of Boulevard PTO this year. I have a 3rd grader. My daughter is in 3rd grade, and then my son is in 1st grade. So far, I think we've had a great start to the year. We had our Coffee on the Lawn event on the first day of school, which went really well, despite very precarious weather. And then we just had our back to school bash as well on Friday, and very similar to what Jen was saying, amazing turnout. We had a lot more people than I was expecting, and I think the weather really contributed to that, and also just the fact that I think, families and students are really excited about opportunities to get together and do fun things in person. So that was a great turnout. And again, we are also getting ready for our pumpkin sale. And then we have a book fair coming up. And we might even consider doing maybe like an outdoor movie night. That's something that we're sort of thinking about. But yeah, so far so good. And I think the fact that we can have outdoor events really helps, but we're not sure really right now what book fair is going to look like. We're sort of preparing for everything. We're preparing for indoor plus an online book fair. We might have to, at the last minute, just forget the in-person book fair and just go with the online. So we're just sort of planning for everything at this point. yeah, that's Boulevard for now.
Thank you. Mercer?
Hi, my name is Emily Adams, like I introduced before, and Christine Reynolds and I are co-presidents of Mercer. I have a second grader girl, a kindergartner girl, and then a almost 2-year-old. She'll be 2 on Wednesday. So we've had a great start to the year so far. We kicked off with, it's called the Mercer Mingle, so the kids can meet their teachers before the school year starts, the Monday before school starts. They did an outdoor event with like Mercer Bingo. And then we also had our ice cream social on the Friday after school started. So that was really fun. There were lots of families there. Everybody got to meet our new principal. What else, Christine? Am I forgetting?
From the Mingle? No, it was good. that was
yeah. So we're gearing up to do our Mercer Olympics, which will happen in October. I got the email about the book fair. Our book fair isn't until January or February, so we haven't thought much about what we're going to do, whether it's going to be, well, I don't think it would be outside, but we are going to host a new event this year. Christina and I are putting together a Fall Harvest Festival in November. It's from 6 to 8 p.m., which I just realized is going to be pretty dark outside, Christine. So hopefully we'll be able to be in the school for that event. If not, we might have to change the hours. I don't know how that works, but yeah, it's a good start to the school year so far.
We have our Chilton picnic coming up this Saturday, so we're really pushing that right now.
Yeah.
Being prepared for that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
Yep.
Onaway? Do we have a representative from Onaway?
Yeah, sorry. Hi. So Sarah Schiavone from Onaway, and I think that Beth Bailey may be also on the line. It's good to see everybody. We are just gearing up for our Onaway Olympics, which is our one and only fundraiser of the year. So we've been in planning stages for that. That will culminate in our fall family picnic, which will be that Friday night, which we're excited for. That'll be when our community gathers and has a meal together, and it's really fun. And we're planning our pumpkin fest, which is great because the entire Onaway neighborhood, not just school community, but kind of neighborhood community comes and we gather and we have pumpkins for sale, and that's really fun. And I think those are like sort of our central. We had a back to school ice cream social that was great. And that was good. I was the one who sent the book fair email. So I'd love to hear what everybody else was thinking, kind of hitting on the theme that Randy and Michelle outlined in the first meeting, kind of making, sort of maybe more efficiency in kind of combining ideas. We were thinking, it would be a shame if like one elementary school did in person and one is virtual, or, sometimes that gets a little bit confusing. So that was the genesis of the email. Of course, I know the timing, like you were just talking about, it's going to be different if it's in January than if it's in October. But, I'd love to be able to rely on the other elementary schools to see, hey, like, what are you doing and how is it working? And, who are the vendors you're using and how can we kind of combine resources and think about doing things together? So not just book fair, but anything else, we'd be happy. Beth and I would be happy to do that. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Okay, Woodbury? Representative?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Louette.
Hi. I'm Louette Harris. Me and Anne Marie are co-presidents for Woodbury. 1 second. Oh, no, get out. Thank you.
The mom duties never end, do they?
You always got to see who I'm talking to.
Okay.
So I have a 6th grader at Woodbury. We had our popsicle pop-up, which we would probably need to work on some more for our 5th and 6th graders. We don't have a lot going on right now, but I do want to mention the book fair because I've seen that a lot of people want to try to collaborate. As far as the book fair goes, how can PTO jump in and help us have like a community book fair maybe instead of just the separate schools? Like maybe we can all collaborate on a week of something. So that was just my main thing, was because I've been getting a lot of emails about the book fair. We wanted to do one for Woodbury. I don't know if it's okay to do K through 12 or K through 6, K through 8, but I just wanted to know if PTO could help us collaborate and have a community book fair, maybe. And if Anne Marie wants to add something, you can go ahead. I'm not a very good talker.
Yeah, just wanted to say we've survived the first couple of events of the school year. Don't have anything planned coming up. I know our 5th grade team building was canceled because we're not, I guess, not allowed in the schools right now, like in the building, from my understanding. But I have a 5th grader and we're from the Lomond neighborhood. So that's all I have to add.
Okay, thank you. You know, maybe we can facilitate a discussion at some point about having a community book fair. I'm not sure when, and you know, when we'll do that, but Randy and I will figure it out, and we'll include everyone. Okay. Okay, middle school.
Hi everyone, Segev Phillips, middle school PTO president with Brooke. I have a 8th grader at middle school and then a 3rd grader at Onaway. I know that Brooke has a 9th grader and a 7th grader. I know she's driving, so I'm going to speak a little bit for her. We are gearing up for the Rainbow Run. The Rainbow Run is Friday, the 24th, which is also the night the high school has their night games, but the Rainbow Run is earlier. It's from about 4 o'clock to 5:30. We would love to have volunteers out there helping from each of the schools. It's our only fundraiser, or at least our major fundraiser for the middle school, and it helps fund a whole host of things. We're also looking forward to a Thanksgiving. It's historically been an event that's tied to a Hunger Week program, and it's a full, like a community Thanksgiving dinner. We're kind of working with the school to figure out if that's possible to do or what it would look like. So we have those challenges ahead, but I think that's about it.
Give a shout out for the Rainbow Run. It's a really great opportunity for the little kids. My son, when he was in 1st grade, my kids were in the older 2 were in the middle school, and he was in 1st grade, and he loved throwing the color at the kids running by, and he would run back and forth. So it's a really great opportunity for the younger kids who may not want to run, but it's a great time for them to be there and see the middle school and get a sense of the larger community. So I really recommend volunteering. It's a blast. But if you do volunteer, bring towels for them to sit on the way home, or your car will be colorful.
Can I ask you what the date for that was again? I want to make sure I get it correct for the notes.
Yeah, it's the 24th. So it's a Friday, and it's just right after school. It's a 2-mile run right around the like the school grounds near the middle school.
No, it's a lot of fun. My daughter did it years ago.
Oh.
She's a 9th grader now.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I mean, you might get 9th graders who missed it last year and want to come back and relive it.
Okay, thank you. High school. Do we have a representative? No? Okay. All right, well, we'll move on.
All right. I would like the exec board officers, the other exec board officers that are here, to give you a chance to introduce yourselves and give any update if you have any. So Mitty, do you want to? You're muted. Yeah.
All right. I'm sitting at my husband's desk, so I'm grabbing his mouse, which has no connection to my computer. Sorry about all that. Okay. I am Mitty Fowler, sort of a spaz. I have 2 kids. I'm feeling so old listening to all you guys and all these great memories of the past. I have 2 kids who graduated from Shaker, so Randy twins, a boy girl who graduated 2021, and then I have a junior at the high school. And Marla, I don't know, what do we have to add about our role? I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I'm Marla Walker. I'm co-chairing with Mitty. I have a 2021, 2018, and 2013 grads, and then we have one left, a junior, also 2023 with Mitty. So we've been around for a long time. We have a lot of experience. Anything you guys need help with, I'm happy to help. Just let me know.
Great, thank you.
In my role or outside of my role, doesn't matter. Mitty is also very, very helpful.
Wonderful, thank you. So Erica, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Erica Lapresti. I was a member of, I've been a member of the PTO since my daughter started kindergarten, and now she's a 9th grader. I held the co-president office when my daughter was in 5th grade at Woodbury, and just trying to get back into things after the pandemic, like all of us. So just really excited when Randy offered me the opportunity to be the secretary so I could kind of get back into the swing of things. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm sorry, I have a 9th grader. I apologize. I have a 6th grade girl as well and a 1st grade boy.
Well, thank you, Erica. I'm so glad you stepped into the role. And actually, Minnie, Marla, Erica, someone said the other day, we're not old, we're long-termers. So
yeah, I've heard seasoned, all kinds of words. We really know what it means.
And I think the last, Diana, I think, and that's it.
Sorry, yeah, I have to admit I'm doing 2 things at once. I'm so sorry. It's a bit really busy year for me, so that's why I'm just co-chairing things. So I'm doing communications for the PTO, and then in the high school I'm helping out with, what is it called? I can't even remember. Finance. It's not even called finances, but anyhow. So I have 2 graduating seniors this year. So this is my last year, at least with the Shaker High Schools, but of course we'll be around.
Great. Thank you. I think that's
actually there's one more.
Oh,
Cherie.
Hi, Cherie. Sorry.
Hey everyone. I'm Cherie Thornton. I'm the education and enrichment. I have a senior and an 8th grader. So I don't have anything to update from my committee yet, though. We're still working through things, but hey, everyone.
Hello.
So I did it last year, but we didn't have that much going on. So this is really my first year.
Yeah, and we appreciate you staying on. A lot of our executive board stayed on from last year, and thankfully Cherie was one of those, since not everyone got to do anything. So it was a nice opportunity to do it. So it's appreciated. Well, thank you.
Can I just ask one question? And it didn't dawn on me until right now. So I know when they worked on the PTO Code of Regulations changes last year, that the first vice presidents were actually going to attend the meetings and then report out to the individual units. And I'm just wondering if, I just noticed now, I was like, oh, I don't see Laura here, but so are they going to actually get invitations to all these meetings, or should we be forwarding it on to them? Or how is that going to work?
That is a good question. They should have received the invitation. I think that is, sorry, my dog wants to come in. In or out, sweetie? Good boy. That was our error because I think I must have missed over that. So yeah, we will make sure that they get the recording and invite them to the next one and make sure they're aware of that because that would
Okay.
make a lot of sense.
Thank you.
Sure. Great. So, and that actually leads us to an important agenda item. I'm going to skip to F just because that was a good segue. We do have a few positions open still on our roster. And we are definitely interested in filling them. And the two most important ones are first VPs. Michelle and I cannot be president 2 years in a row. We don't want to be president 2 years in a row, as fun as this is. So if anyone is interested in being first VP, if anyone knows of anyone who might be interested, often what helps is to find a first VP and then they can find someone that they feel they would work well with. So please let us know or put your ears out if anyone might be interested in, and you can be in a role on a PTO exec board and also be first VP for council. So that is fine.
So we don't know what happens because we are not allowed to be presidents again.
Yeah, so if we don't have somebody, it's a problem.
It's a problem.
So, but I think we will have someone. I think we'll be able to find someone to step up. I think that last year was a hard year for recruitment because it was so disconnected. So I think this year, since we are more in person, we will be able to find someone. The other position that we're looking for is the new students, new families position. And other than that, we're good. And if anyone, I don't know I know Boulevard had a few holes they were trying to fill. If you have holes that you need to fill, if you want to mention them now or feel free to,
even at the back to school barbecue, a few people wanted to volunteer for things and Randy sent out those sign-in sheets. So I think we had people say what schools they were from and things like that. So, be sure to reach out to those folks.
Louette, do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to say we too, Woodbury also needs 2 VPs and I believe financial management.
Okay. In a way, sometimes is just at different events to talk to people and see who might be interested in it. It can be hard for sure. And let us know what support you need around filling those spots. We're happy to help.
Yeah, and I think it's especially hard for council because we don't have events. The schools have events.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Which is where the units can be helpful. And, anyone on your boards or anyone who you think would be really good in this role. Typically, we like them to have been a president in a building before. It's not a requirement. It helps, but it's certainly not a requirement. So, and it's, yeah. So our next discussion, I know we've talked to a lot of you that one of the biggest things that Michelle and I really want to focus on this year is diversity and equity in PTO. Cherie and I are both on the district equity team. So we're doing that work, but we really want to look at PTO and making sure that our PTO really represents Shaker. I'm just looking at not just representation, but other equity issues. And what Michelle and I thought would make the most sense would be to form an equity committee specifically for the PTO. So if anyone has any interest in that, please let us know. We will also reach out to other exec board members from your schools. We'll send out an email within the next week, probably next week after Yom Kippur. So I'm a little swamped right now, but to recruit for that, for if anyone's interested in really looking at equity on the PTO and have a committee, making sure that it's something that's more than just a 1-year endeavor. But we also just wanted to just open up a conversation or questions about what that is and what that means. So if anyone had any comments.
So Louette wants to know what the duties would be for it.
That's a good question. And we're not 100% sure. Honestly, this idea came up today as Michelle and I were talking. And what I think our duties would be is to meet, my guess is monthly, and email and really just look at PTO and what we think the diversity and equity issues are on the PTO and what needs to be done about it and what some options are and what some possibilities are. Michelle and I have already met with several people and have gotten ideas and gotten feedback, and we just really want to hear from as many people as possible. So I think that would really be what the duty is sort of collect the data and try to get some information so we can move forward. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. If anyone wants to be on it, just let us know.
Is there anyone interested now? I can write your names down. You can raise your hand. Or if you just want to have discussion. Okay.
Okay, Marla.
You can add me.
Great.
Cherie, I'll be on it with you guys.
Great.
I'll try to unmute.
Okay.
You can add me too, Erica Lapresti.
Okay. So I have Marla, Cherie, and Erica.
And Louette.
Okay.
Can I just ask for clarification about what exactly the committee is going to do? Is the committee setting goals and then, or are they executing on goals that the PTO is setting the goals? I guess I'm curious, like what's the role versus, goals versus execution versus.
I don't think we're at goals and execution yet. I think we're at exploration. I think that the committee would really be exploring and trying to gather information and thoughts and ideas. And then what we could do was out of that information, create goals and execute. But I think our first goal is really to look at what do we have to look at. Does that make sense?
Sorry, I forgot to hit unmute. Yes, that makes sense. I didn't know if there were specific issues currently that you've identified that the committee is intending to, seek to resolve those, or if it's literally at the beginning stage, which is we haven't yet even identified what our issues are.
There are some issues that have been identified. I mean, the major issue is diversity on exec boards. And we really want to look at that and look at how we can increase recruitment of more people of color. So that's a major one. The other one is just looking at funding and at the elementary school level. And there are some equity issues there as well. So really exploring that. And one of the things what I'm really happy about this year, because it could be one of the things that really helps that is how much collaboration is happening amongst the elementary schools, where if elementary schools are doing more collaboration, it kind of resolves that issue in a really positive way. So not fully resolves, but that's just one of the things that we're thinking of in terms of looking at that. So those are two of the major issues, but I'm sure there's more that we haven't even thought of. And this has been something that's been talked about for years and years and years. And this committee would really hopefully be something that could continue in years to come. So it's not just, we're not just reinventing the wheel every year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really looking at continuing action being taken. So even after Michelle and I are done. Any other thoughts or questions? Okay.
All right. Well, shall we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is just, the next one is just a reminder that we do have resources like, you know, if you wanted to have a meeting, you can use the Zoom account. The PTO had an account, but we're using the district account now. So you can schedule a Zoom meeting. We mentioned membership toolkit. We will we will schedule a training for those who are interested in learning how to utilize the membership toolkit. And I had a conversation with Randy quite some time ago. I don't know if anyone has tried to use PTO today. I found it really helpful. Even some of their free online resources. But what we were going to do, what I suggested was we get a subscription. The subscription, and it was in, I believe it was in the budget, is $140. And I wanted to you know, see if we can all share that subscription, because it has a lot of great resources, you know, letters and just all kinds of information. And so we thought we'll try it out this year. Okay, we haven't purchased it yet, but I'll look into doing that as soon as possible. All right. So, and then, but you all will have to give us feedback. You have to use it and then give us feedback and let us know if it's worth it.
Yeah.
All right.
So what we want to go back to, and I think is the big question, is hosting events during COVID. And when Michelle and I spoke with Dr. Glassner last week, he sort of echoed what he had said at the brown bag lunch, that there isn't really any district guidance yet. And he was going to try to get us some. He hasn't yet. And I think that one of the things he mentioned to us is really be talking to the administrator in your building, because each administrator in the buildings may have different thoughts or different ideas. And the buildings are a little different, because at the high school and middle school, you're going to have some vaccinated kids. Obviously at the elementary, they can't be yet, although hopefully soon. But what we wanted to do was open up some discussion about it. I know that right now for indoor events, everyone has to be masked. It's suggested for outdoor events. It's suggested that we not have events that have indoor food. Outdoor food is obviously, you know, all the schools blacktop bashes and everything last week, because that was outside, was different. But really how to be creative and how to have our PTO events in a safe way. And we wanted to have some discussion around that.
I'll start. So one of the things that and I get it, the district isn't giving us the guidance, but it is a challenge when different schools make different decisions. And then it's like as if the PTO, you know, Melissa and I somehow made the decision to not have any indoor events, but they heard Fernway had an indoor event for, sorry, not pick on Fernway, but you know, so I think it is it goes to the issue of like, are we all on the same page? It doesn't help us, I think, in our communication with families when we have no consistency in the same, we're all in the same city, right? We all, you know, we're all, you know, so I just wish we could have some guidance, would help us, I think. Like Sarah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I think we can have PTO policy. Like we can say, like, are there certain buildings that are saying no indoor events?
Woodbury's, the team building event was canceled. The teachers are just doing it with their students because we've been asked not to come in the school. Like parents and guardians are not allowed, to my understanding, to come into the school when the children are there. So yeah, so we were kicked out. So I don't know, maybe just a suggestion. I know that, you know, different age groups, some can get vaccinated, some can't. Can we kind of like come up with some guidance of like pre-K to 6th grade is this rule for PTO, and then Middle and high school can be other rules, just so that we're consistent across the board.
Yes, it's downstairs on the sink.
Yeah, I mean, that's a definite possibility. I think I saw Melissa first.
Basically, I was just raising my hand to answer the question of your question of have certain buildings decided on not indoor events. Speaking for Jen and I think just from a leadership standpoint, we don't see it as an option right now, especially considering the district has decided to take all of our curriculum nights and meetings and brown bag lunches. Everything is virtual. So I don't really feel comfortable inviting our whole community inside of two rooms in our building. We pretty much host all of our families in our cafeteria and in our gymnasium. And it just seems absurd to think that we would do that when our kids can't even eat in their cafeteria right now because we're trying to keep them separate. And I just think that from an elementary level, it would be so good for us at a council level to make a decision and say that we shouldn't be having indoor events at this time. And just speaking from our own perspective, we have decided that we do have a fall festival every year. Obviously, we did Blacktop Bashes always outside, but we typically bring it inside if it's a rain delay or inclement weather. But we decided we either have a good weather day or we don't have it. And for Pumpkin Affair, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to have to be outside or we're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah. And an option would be, I mean, there are the tents, and I know Crew also has tents that they rent out. I know this because my son is now like helping with setting it up and taking it down. So that could also be an option if extra tents are needed for outdoor things. But I do think we can make council policy around that. Harmina, did you have?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wonder if for council policy, if we consider maybe, expected numbers at a certain event, like for example, with our book fair, we're holding it during parent-teacher conferences. And so as parents are coming in to see their teacher, and again, they have an option, like if they want to meet with the teacher virtually, or if they want to meet the teacher in person, we are then having this book fair indoors. And so we feel that our numbers in person are going to be quite small compared to a book fair that we have held in previous years. So if we could maybe make council policy, kind of be based on how many numbers of people are expected for an event. We've also thrown around the idea at our school where we could have, families with last names from A to K, and then, the second set of families come at a different time, just to kind of limit numbers. But that being said, I do also agree that the reality of our times right now is that indoor events do seem sort of not a good idea. And so maybe if our events are more planned according to weather, in terms of have a lot of events during the fall and then plan the rest of your events for spring. And then as winter comes, just kind of limit the number of events that we have that are indoor. So I know those are a lot of different ideas that I've thrown out. Hopefully it makes sense. Those are just some of my thoughts.
Okay.
This may seem, I'm not trying to be contrarian when I say this, but every single person who's spoken so far has sort of voiced the same feeling, which is that large indoor events aren't a welcome. And I worked the middle school orientation. I can tell you, even if you tell people, hey, this is a masked event, you're going to have parents show up. The kids were great. Parents showed up unmasked or like wearing it around their chins, which was great as somebody who had to be there to sign up volunteers. But I, sort of to Harmina's point, every event is different, right? So if there's food involved, the size involved, how many people is it, how many rooms are we using? I'm just gonna go out on a wing here and say, I'm not sure we need a PTO council policy as much as maybe just like trusting that everyone here is gonna use their good judgment.
Well, maybe we can come up with something that's best practices rather than a policy.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Because, you know, we might be all over the place, but maybe if we came up with some best practices for events, whether they're indoor, outdoor, or, you know, food related, or dealing with children who are, you know, pre-K through 4, and their families. What do you think?
And it may also have to be a little different. Like I know at the end of the year, last year, a lot of the schools were planning events and Boulevard did not because there was a small spread and they wanted to contain it, which they did beautifully. So there may be some differences. We can't, I think, even though we are one community, be completely uniform, because if that one school has a bunch of cases, their situation might be different. Sarah?
I agree with that, but that's why I raised the question about the book fair. Like, for example, you know, we thought about the book fair, but it's not just during the conferences, it's the kids previewing the books, because we talked to Scholastic and they actually want the kids. I mean, they don't want it to be outside. They don't want the rolling bins to be outside. You know, they want the kids to preview the book. So then, I mean, it's not just the parents buying the books. It's setting up in the gym. It's the kids going through. It's the teachers. So I get it, but at least for the events that are very similar, like book fair, it's done the same way. Scholastic, it's done. Like I think, and I don't mean to be contrarian, but I want us to be all on the same page about that. Either we have them indoor, we all have them indoor, or we don't, because it does become very, oh, well, they had this. I mean, we already see this in you know, we talk about inequity in resources. We already, you know, there's just a lot out there, right? Where it's so-and-so has a makerspace and we don't have this makerspace and we don't have the building, you know, and like, I'm like, we're the PTO. We didn't make those decisions. I don't know what to tell you, but so I agree that we should have best practices, but when it's an event that is literally the exact same thing going from building to building, I think that there needs to be an agreement. Doesn't need to be a policy, but I think it needs to be an agreement that we can, you know, discuss and come up with something that we're all on the same page.
That makes sense. And I do think it can be, you know, with the book fair, I think that's actually really easy to control numbers, because you could have something where, I know at Lomond, it hasn't been during conferences, but I know at Boulevard it is. At Onaway, it sounds like it is, where maybe just certain kids, certain time, you may sign up for times instead of just going whenever. Maybe there's a sign up genius and there's slots that 10 families can sign up for and come at a time. I made that number up. I don't know if that's a good number, but you know, a way where you're, and maybe kids don't preview the books this year. Maybe they aren't picking up the books and looking through them, which is hard, but you know, maybe there's some rules around that. But I do agree that for the events where all the schools have one, there should be some consistency. And I think outside of here, like the email that was started today, that's a great way to just collaborate and talk and figure out how can we all do this together in a safe way. Louette, I know you've had your hand up for a while.
I think that was a while ago. It was already answered.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Great. Okay.
Melissa had her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in, and I think Jen has already commented. I don't want to rock the boat because I know that this email trail just started going around today, but we'd already had our book fair scheduled and it's already on the calendar for the 27th. So for us to change directions at this point, it's going to be too difficult to do that. And our family and community engagement specialist is really the person who spearheads our book fair every year, and she's in the building and she's going to be coordinating with each individual classroom to take the kids into the cafeteria at different times by classroom, over the course of the week, so that the kids are getting some space and they're just trying logistically to keep it as safe as possible and only during school hours. There will be a few parent volunteers that will be coming in and out of the building over the course of the week, but we'll be keeping our volunteer levels at a minimum.
Okay. Yeah, and obviously, as it was said, we can't really make policy, but suggestions and best practices, and obviously there are going to be some differences, like in terms of Lomond. So, Susan?
Yeah, that's what I was, I appreciate all the things that have been said. Maybe PTO just ends up having some guidance that goes to each of the units that says, like, when you're planning your events, these are things to think about, and like just have all the bullet points of that we just talked about, numbers of people and indoor, outdoor, and age, and kind of food, all those things, just so that everyone's getting a refresher on the important points, without, laying down the law. And then encouraging and like really making use of the council VPs this year to help the units talk to each other and talk about the similar events.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, and I think the event chairs could even meet as a group, use the PTO Zoom or go to Van Aken District and have a conversation with one another. Or, I think that the council VPs could certainly head that up with all of the event chairs underneath their, the word. I think that's a great idea, because that would be a really good way for all of them to work together and figure things out and give each other ideas. So, and then individualize for whatever each building might need or what some of the differences might be in the buildings. Diana?
Well, so I'm going to just talk outside of the book fair, is just whatever you want to call them, guidance, policies, best practices as well. Whatever the schools have versus the PTO. We also need to reflect on the fact that the district may need to also be informed of this first as well, to make sure that whatever we decide to put out, they would probably need to look at it first. So just keep that in mind as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's, talking to your building administrator. Michelle and I will be in contact with Dr. Glassner, letting them know where you're at and what you're thinking, because they may have, that's a really good point, because they may think of things that we don't, or vice versa. So I think that communication is really important this year. And things also are going to come up at each, like Boulevard last year, at each individual school that might be different. Melissa? Oh, you're just, okay. Harmina, did you have another question? Or?
Yeah, no, I was just actually going to echo that same idea that, PTO, like, we're all trying our best. We all want to do great things for our school communities. And what I hear Dr. Glassner saying is basically go to your school principal and run the event by them. Tell them your thoughts, tell them how you think you're going to, coordinate the event, manage people, and masking. I think masking indoors is a no-brainer, basically. Even though, it was mentioned that a lot of parents sometimes don't wear their masks properly, but I think that the school principal should be the person who ultimately decides how the event is going to go. And that seems to be the district policy, or what they sort of want to do. So I was just going to share that.
That's a good reminder. And I think it's also appropriate to ask people to put their masks on correctly, or ask, security at the building, or teachers at the building, or administration to remind people about proper mask wearing. I think it's reasonable. Especially if someone's coming up to you and in your face signing something, to ask them to be wearing their masks is politely, is fine. It's interesting because, you hear about all of these anti-mask protesters in other districts, and, Shaker doesn't have that, but there is that kind of iffy mask wearing at the same time. And I think just a reminder can be helpful. And we can continue this discussion. And I think also as things change, as numbers change, and as, thank you, Diana. Once the younger kids can get vaccinated, last I've heard is October, let's hope. It's going to change a lot of things as well. So I think we just all have to be flexible, and I really appreciate all of you stepping up to do PTO this year, because it's not an easy year to do it, because I think there's just going to be a lot of pivoting and a lot of flexibility that we're all going to have to do together. And the more we can communicate and work together and collaborate, the better. And Michelle and I are always here if you need to bounce ideas off of us or help brainstorm or just run something by us. And we're happy to go to Dr. Glassner at any time as well. So thank you all. This was a good discussion.
Melissa?
Ask two more quick questions. Speaking of Dr. Glassner, would it be possible for you guys to ask him if the elementary campuses would be able to have access to a couple extra tents for our fall season? I think that Lomond could probably accommodate 1 to 2 more tents, at least through the October month, because we will have an event and some opportunities to be outside. And I know we can go to Crew, and we'll do that if we have to, but I'm just wondering if the district is willing to offer that resource to us temporarily. And then my last question is about the opt-in question during registration process. I know a couple of years ago, we reworked our registration process to include a question that said, will you accept communication from the PTO? So you can click this little toggle and say, yes, I want communication. Do you know when we're going to be getting that list, or how we're going to be getting that list of families that have opted in to receive communication from us? Because we've received spreadsheets in previous years that break out different bits of information. And we use that specifically for our room reps to communicate with classroom families.
We can, I muted myself. We can ask Dr. Glassner those questions. I'm not sure in terms of tents, and I'm not sure about those spreadsheets. That's a good question. But we can ask him and let you know, because that would be helpful, especially this time of year.
Sarah, you have your hand up?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find the agenda. I know it's in the chat back there, but I just had a question about council. I know we talked in one of our individual meetings that, speaking about coordination, if council could arrange, like they did a couple years ago, some of the fundraising nights at like Dewey's Pizza or Cilantro Taqueria. So I wondered if there was any movement on that. Now we're in September, looking at October. So has there been any discussion about that?
Yeah, Shen, who is our financial management person, is looking into that. I can check in with her on what the status is, but she was going to reach out to Dewey's Pizza. She was going to reach out to a few other places. I think it's a little different this year, and she was trying to figure that out, but I can check in with her and give you an update.
Okay, so we should not do that on our own yet.
Let me check in with her and ask, and
okay.
I can let you know. I can send her an email tonight.
Great, thank you.
Sure. So, really, that's pretty much it. We have on here our next meeting is January 24th, and then May 16th. We changed it to only have 3 meetings. Obviously, if you need to meet with us or talk to us any other time, you can reach out to us. I know January is a long time away, and we can always do email discussions as well. Are there any other questions or?
I just have a quick question. Earlier in the conversation, I was hearing about like an email train that was going on about like book fair and fundraising. I don't think I received that. Is that something the council is sending out to us to be in communication with all of us?
No, I'm sorry. I'm the one that brought that up. That was an email that was going on between the elementary buildings just regarding the Scholastic Book Fair.
Okay, thanks.
And I'm not sure about your answer to that question.
Yeah, I was just writing. Go ahead.
Do you know that?
No, I was just writing a response saying exactly the same thing. I'm not sure, but we'll check.
Yeah.
And that's in response to Melissa's question.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Can I just ask a quick question? For the PTO meetings that are coming up, and then we do the community speaker series afterwards, was there a list that was sent out as to when, like what month or whatever is for each school, dedicated to each school? Because I don't think I got that. I mean, in terms of like hosting that community speaker series.
Oh.
Mhm.
There was like an email train a while ago where people kind of picked their dates. I admit I only know the Lomond date of November. I forget
Yeah,
who's.
I think I'm sorry.
I think if
sorry.
you look on the calendar, it might be on the district calendar.
Okay.
If not, I'll try to find the email.
I think I'm missing a lot of emails because I was supposed to be VP and then I got bumped up to first VP at the last minute sort of thing. So I might be, you know, my name might be missing on some of the email lists. So.
On a related note for the community speaker series, so Mercer's hosting the first one, and I have no idea how to set up those links in terms of like, does it go out to the district to send out email blasts? Does the district set up the link? I think I just need a little bit of guidance regarding that because it's on the 29th, I think.
Yeah, so Emily, last year, we as unit presidents would forward the hosting school our own Zoom link. So each individual school is going to have their pre-meeting with their own Zoom link, and each of us as PTO presidents should send that to you. And then you can compile all that information and send that to, last year we sent it to our PTO council presidents, and I don't know if it's going to be the same format for Randy and Michelle, if you'll receive that information and then send it all out together. But I do believe that communications got that completely compiled for us, like at a district level. They worked on that with us. That's
So does each school's PTO have their own separate Zoom account, or how do we set it up so that like each school does their own? Okay.
We'll give you access.
Yeah, we were kind of getting that together on our own from a pre-meeting level, just because the meetings were shorter. I don't know if it just happened that all of our PTO presidents had Zoom accounts, or at least we were using the temporary accounts that allowed us to use the time limit that we were working with.
PTO had their own account, and this year, it's my understanding, they got rid of it and used a district only.
And I also, if there's an issue and there's a
conflict
building that needs an extra account, I actually have two. I have one for Young Cleveland, which is an organization I run, and I have one for my business, and I'm happy to let you guys use it. If for some reason you need more than the free 40-minute meeting, just let me know and I can set up a meeting for you. So I'm happy to do that.
They don't have to use the free one. They can use the district one, right?
Right, but only one person can at a time.
Right, okay.
Well, like, because Mercer's hosting, do we use the district one?
Yeah, the building that's hosting the meeting the speaker should use the district one for that meeting. So then you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But yeah, each school should do the communications, and then the council can do the communications for the whole thing as well. So and they can send out a blast.
Can someone send out like directions about that? Because I didn't write any of that down. So if someone could write out the process of how to set up that Zoom meeting, I just want to make sure that it goes smoothly, the first one, since we're hosting it. Okay.
Maybe the elementary communication people can talk with one another, the elementary just send an email out to one another, the presidents and the communication people, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Would that be helpful?
I'm going to just jump in here. I agree with Emily. As like a new person, I really don't know the step-by-step process of what I should be doing in terms of like leading this, first of all, the pre-meeting, and then who am I contacting so that all of the parents at our school are then going to join in the district. So if you guys have some kind of a template or a step-by-step thing that you can send to us about what we should do and what Zoom accounts we should use for the pre-meeting, and then basically how to do it, because I don't think our communications person is really going to know that either. So I think just with last year being such a weird year, a lot of us don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we haven't really had, I think, anyone to sort of transition us into whatever it is we're supposed to be doing. So
Randy, do you think we should have the council communications person?
Yeah, I can have Carrie and Diana reach out to you guys. And I mean, they didn't do it last year, but Sarah and Stacy did, because they were the communications people last year as well as co-presidents. So I can have them as well, and maybe they can work with you just to give here's how we did it last year. So I will send them an email tonight as well. Just writing notes.
Any other issues? Questions? No? I think this was quite productive. I thank you all for joining us this evening. And I think, does everyone have our contact information? I did send out, maybe a few weeks ago, an email asking everyone to update their contact information in the Google Docs. And so, put your email and your phone number in there, and that's really for us so that we can make sure we're communicating with you, because there's a lot of missing information. So did everyone get the Google Doc that I sent? No? Okay. All right. Okay, Harmina, what can you put in the chat your email? Maybe you weren't on it if you didn't get it. And if someone else didn't get it, just let me know. Go ahead and put your email in the chat. Yes, I sent it to I thought I sent it to everyone, but I'll double check. Okay.
Wait, I have one more question. Since we're sort of crowdsourcing information, I just wanted to ask Melissa. Melissa, I'm interested in your the sort of relationship that PTO has with the FACE building coordinator. How did you facilitate that? Because we've spoken to our principal, and it feels much more low key than actually having like established like roles and responsibilities. So how did you facilitate that, and any kind of best practices you can share with us?
Well, so admittedly, there is a trade-off. When we did this, it's been probably over a decade, so it's a little past my historical knowledge, but it was already in place, I'd say, up to a decade ago. And the trade-off is that Lomond PTO no longer gets access to the monetary funds that are raised by the Scholastic Book Fair, because for Lomond in general, it's more important for our kids to get books in hand rather than PTO get the money. So all of the money that we raise from the Scholastic Book Fair just gets funneled right back into purchasing books and getting those into the hands of students that are in need of getting them. And the students that are in need of getting them are the ones that are not showing up with money. They're not going with their class to pick out a book at lunchtime, but we're still ensuring that those families are getting access to the books. So it's much different from what every other elementary building is likely doing based on the budgets that I've looked at in the past. Most other buildings make a pretty decent amount of money from their scholastic book fair, and that gets funneled into your general budget. We don't do that. So
sorry, I was more talking about just the relationship between the FACE coordinator, not specifically about the book fair. I mean, meaning how did it come to pass that like your FACE coordinator, I understand what you're saying, that it's because
it's all coming based on the fact that what we're doing with the funding is funneling it back to families that are in need. And that's not necessarily a role that PTO can be directly involved in. So I, as PTO president, am not allowed to know what families directly are receiving those books. That's something that at a district level, specifically from a FACE coordinator level, they have access to that information, and they're, legally allowed to be dealing with those families on a personal basis, and we can't. So that's just how we have to circumvent the whole system. Does that make sense?
Okay. So has anyone else had a successful sort of integration with the FACE coordinator? And if so, like how and in what way? Because we think that it's super important. Actually, we don't use any of our book fair funds for anything else but to buy books also for kids. So it doesn't go into our general fund. We don't do it exactly that same way, but similarly, it's all for books for the kids. But I'm more interested in like how, like if you read kind of that job description of what Keith said, you're going to have the FACE coordinators in the building. How do we tap into that resource? Just like you said, Melissa, they have more information about individual families and how to do outreach. Has anyone been successful in utilizing that in, to try to get PTO information out?
Sarah, I think at Boulevard, hello?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? At Boulevard, I think at every school, they have selected 1 or 2 teachers that are going to be working closer with Keith with his initiatives this year. And so the teacher that's sort of involved in that kind of reached out to me and basically we're going to now be sort of working together about how we can get information out to families and to kind of get it going at our school. So that could be one way, is finding out which teacher is involved in the FACE initiatives this year.
Yeah, I would say generally, if you just start with maybe talking with your building admin and your building principal, just to at least, tell them that you're interested in establishing that. And, feel free to use us as an example of like something that successfully works in that way, but they probably just need to know that you want to do that.
Awesome, thanks.
All right, well, thank you everyone for coming. And again, feel free to reach out to Michelle and I for comments. We will get this recording up and Erica will get the minutes out. This has been a really good meeting, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good evening.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.